As I have discussed over the past couple of weeks, the myth of Perseus and the Gorgons is an exciting and complex one. From vase paintings to literary sources, the myth has been told in multiple ways, slightly different in each, but all of them encompassing the hero's journey in some ways. First, I would like to compare the vase paintings that I had previously talked about and how they relate to their literary counterparts and to themselves. When looking back at both vase paintings, vase 10102 and 202629, we see only a snippet of the main action of the story. Perseus right after beheading Medusa and fleeing from the Gorgon's cave. While this scene is of course vital to the myth, it is not everything about the story. In either painting, we do not see anything about Andromeda, Phineus, his grandfather, or Polydectes, all major characters pertaining to the rest of the myth. Instead, we get images of the Gorgon sisters altogether, of Athena and Hermes, and of Perseus in the first painting. This is interesting that Hermes was even painted, since his name is only mentioned in passing in Apollodorus' The Library, and not mentioned at all in Ovid's Metamorphosis. Besides the fact that Perseus used his winged shoes to fly away. He is also not painted at all in the other vase paintings that I analyze. That means that the artist, who is anonymous, thought that Hermes was important enough for some reason to be featured in this painting. It is also interesting that in this painting features the other Gorgons as well, since the second painting only features Medusa. Even in Apollodorus' description of the myth, he only gives a brief description of all the Gorgons together and mentions that they did chase Perseus out but could not follow him forever. Ovid does not mention the other sisters at all, besides describing why Medusa was different and had snakes for hair. This choice to include all of the Gorgons, I think, was to emphasize the sorrow and anger that they were feeling as their sister's death happened right before them. This emotion is evident in the painting and really resonates in their body language. Obviously, with the other vase painting, the artist wanted to focus more on the feud between Athena and Medusa, that Ovid does actually explain in some detail. Athena is made to be the central figure and is facing Medusa's headless body. It is interesting to note that Apollodorus does not mention at all the personal conflicts between Athena and Medusa, and so is seen as not important, or at least for him. When examining the writings of Apollodorus compared to Ovid, we see two very different forms of writing. Apollodorus is very factual and gives information very straightforward. He does not ponder hard on the love between Perseus and Andromeda or reflects greatly on the power of Medusa's eyes. Ovid, on the other hand, is very poetic. His prose is filled with the emotion, and he dives into explanations unseen in Apollodorus. Overall, each source gives their own insight or personal bias into the myth of Perseus and is important in its own right. By focusing on certain scenes, like with vase paintings, we are able to gain a deeper insight into specific characters, just as reading the myth as a whole shows a more rounded view of each character and the actions each takes. Thank you for listening.